Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to try and get a little bit more done on Dad's 250 crossflow for his XE Falcon. We've got a few bits and pieces to pop back on it, so it's nearly ready to turn over and see if it's got oil pressure and fire it up and run the cam in. There's also a few pics from what we got up to last weekend out at his shed, trying to put up a one of those cheap marquees that you can get from Bunnings, about $149. Really flimsy, but in a shed, no weather blowing through. We're basically trying to use it as a clean room, clean area. So that way we can put the car in, maybe get a bit of primer on it and not have primer overspray floating through his workshop everywhere and getting on other bits and pieces and just making a general mess that he has to try and clean up. So yeah, we've got a few pics of that and we'll get into this motor. So with the ignition on the 250, we're staying with the factory Bosch HEI ignition that came on it. Super reliable, don't really play up even when they're old. About the worst that can happen is obviously cap, rotor, leads, whatever, but the 4-pin module in there, in saying that, that was still the original one fitted from factory in 1983. I managed to find one of the last Bosch ones I could at the local supplier. So we put a genuine Bosch 4-pin one back in there with the white lithium grease underneath, so it's got a nice heat sink so you don't burn it out. They used to be common as everywhere, but now to try and find that module is really hard. And then there's heaps of Chinese knockoffs and stuff like that, but they don't last. They're just rubbish. So really nothing to go wrong in there. We've got that, another genuine Bosch rotor button and a cap and a decent lead set. So we're going to get this on and see if we can go from there. Other thing we did do while it was apart, because this motor has got a aftermarket billet cam from Crow, so we got the appropriate cam gear to run on their cam gear, so that way it doesn't chew out or wear the cam lobe or strip the gears off of here. So there is two different IDs depending on which series of distributor you got for the Falcon 6. But yeah, straight off the shelf from Crow, replace the original one with that, so it should all mate in and not give us any issues with reliability. So we'll get this out there and we'll see what we can do to start getting it fitted. Okay, so let's catch you back up on this one. So this is a, 1983 XE Falcon 250 6-cylinder out of that orange car that I got sitting around the yard at home. So same age and whatnot as Dad's brown one. Same cylinder head, same block, everything. Even the auto's the same. So the auto's been gone through, seals are good. It's got fresh bands, fresh plates, everything like that. So that's all good to go. Standard converter, because no one around here is really interested in doing anything converter-wise for a Borg Warner 35. So it is what it is, we'll run with that. Now, cylinder head on this one, when we built it, we've done a bit of work in the chamber, so the combustion chamber, taken off any sharp edges, sharp burrs, made sure the valves are unshrouded, everything like that. Not massive amounts of work, just enough to make them clean and no sharp edges for any chance of pinging and stuff like that. So we've done a little bit of work in the throats directly below the valves, and a little bit on the short turns in the runners and stuff like that, and it's been opened up a little bit. And then things like the ports to manifold and ports to extractors, they've been port matched there. The valves are all standard size, just reseated with a good triangle valve job on them. And we then had the cylinder head crack tested, pressure tested, all that, and it was decked. So we had them, the goal was we were aiming for around a 10.5, 11 to 1 compression, static compression motor when it was all done. So that's what we did in the top end. Obviously the valve springs and collets and retainers are all from Crow to suit the cam that we bought off them as well. The push rods again are off Crow, right length and everything to suit the standard Falcon rockers, which by the way are the same as your 1:7:3 ratio Cleveland small block and Ford 429 and 460 big block rockers, as far as I'm aware, but the Cleveland ones definitely will bolt on. So that may be an option we do later on, get a set of roller rockers for it. We'll see how it runs with the stamped ones first, should be good enough. Now the intake is an old Redline Talker 2-barrel, and for now the carby's just a 350 2-barrel that we had and went through. Was on a little 302 Windsor that I had, so it worked okay on that. Later on we may look at changing that out for something different or newer. Just gone for an off-the-shelf replacement fuel pump to keep it simple, and it will flow more than enough for what we're doing with this. Now Mick over at Fluid Connectors made up a hard line for us, so it all bolts on like the factory one would. No hoses, no joins, no leaks, and no sketchy filters in there. Bottom end, 40 thou over flat top Silverlight pistons, because that's all we could get for it at the time. We did build this thing at the start of COVID, so there wasn't a hell of a lot of stuff available for Ford and Holden 6 cylinders at the time over here. So yeah, 40 thou over flat top Silverlights with Hastings rings, King bearings on the crank. It was 10 under on the big end and the mains, and a Crow double row timing chain, roller chain for it as well. Balancer is a power bond, just an off-the-shelf power bond, nothing flash there. And we put a replacement Mellings oil pump on it. So got a new oil pump drive in there as well, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see down there, is going to be part of the trick of getting this Dizzy to go in. Down inside that center hole, there's a little Allen key type hex drive that drives the oil pump. We've got to get that to line up with the distributor shaft, as well as the teeth on the gear of the cam gear just there. So what we've done is I've wound the motor over to top dead center compression number 1. And actually it's about 10 degrees, 12 degrees advanced to give us a starting point. And we're going to grab the Dizzy and throw that in. With the Bosch HEIs, I don't know whether this will show up. Just here, where is it? Just there. If I can get the light right, maybe. There's a little nick in the housing. So whether it's a 4-cylinder Dizzy, 6-cylinder V8, Toyota, Ford, Mitsubishi, Holden, whatever, the Bosch HEIs, that's where you want to have the rotor button pointing at top dead center, number 1, firing number 1, by the time it goes in and engages with the teeth. So I'm going to get myself set up and pop the camera over here, and we'll see if we can get this thing in. Okay, so we've just got the Dizzy drop down in there, and it's engaged in the teeth, but it obviously hasn't engaged in the fuel pump. We've got a slight air gap between the distributor and the block surface down there, and the rotor button is coming up on the index mark that we want, with the module and the vacuum pot facing to the direction that we want. Like I said, we're about 10, 12 degrees advanced. So now if I push down with a little bit of light pressure on that and wind the motor over at the same time, if I can, hopefully that should keep the teeth engaged in the Dizzy to cam gear and should engage that oil pump. And that sounded like it clicked down. Yep, we're down. So now, if I try and get this to go back to top dead center, we can try and verify our marks. So that's top dead center compression cylinder 1. And if we get you down in here, we can see our rotor button. It's pointing to our index mark, pretty much in the middle. And with the positioning of the module and the vacuum pot, we've got good amounts of advance and retard that we can move and it won't foul on anything. So we should be pretty much on the money for what we want. Now, like I was saying about the top end and the bottom end, what I forgot to mention was, yeah, we were chasing it like 10.5 to 1, 11 to 1 compression. Now, we did deck the head and whatnot, so that's had a fair bit taken off there. When they machined the bottom end of the block, we also went for they zero decked the block, so the pistons are nice and flush with the top of the block. Now, I'm not renowned for my maths, but everything rotates over and doesn't foul yet. So hopefully once it starts up, gets oil pressure and the lifters pump up, everything still stays free and moving and not touching each other. So between myself and the guy at the machine shop, who I had issues with and find some of the work he's done questionable, that I had to redo or recheck myself. So time will tell when it starts up, we'll see how it goes from there. So I'll grab a couple more pieces and we'll pop them on. Right, so we've got the distributor locked down, the timing set on the pulley to about 12 degrees advance, and the rotor button's pointing to the firing point. So the last 250 I had that had a bigger cam than this one again, it used to like the initial timing set around 14 degrees, made it happy. So we'll see what we can do. 10 to 12 should be able to get it to start and run. So we can get it to fire up and then go from there. It'll just give us a starting point. Now, other reason I like going with the Bosch stuff, if I can get it, they fit. And OE type Bosch cap, and it's even molded with your firing order. We know it goes clockwise, but if you didn't, the cap comes with 153, 624, and just double check yourself and confirm yourself. So pop that in there. And we'll grab our lead set. These things always look nasty and the wrong lengths, but let's see what we got. Shortest one. One should be a bit longer, so I might go two shortest ones, and out of those I'll make the shortest one number 2, so 15362, because that's got the least amount of travel we need. Where am I going to get these to fit through? Some idiot went and poured a fuel pipe there. I wonder who that was. So we'll have enough. Okay, so that's on. Maybe, let's try and go that one a bit. They would have originally gone up between the manifold runners, but the aftermarket redline intake is fatter and there is nowhere to pass it up through. So if I get this right, hopefully it all works. And this one being a little bit longer, should have enough to reach number 1. just me trying to make it so it looks neat on this side here where you see it all. And down here, trying to keep it so it's all going to be tucked out of the way and clean when we do it. So now that's all done. The pin lead for the coil, which is going to mount back in the factory spot on the block back here. So we'll just pop him. Where's it going to go about there? Different? Oh, same. All on, and then that one will reach to our coil when we're done there. Possibly even around a bit. Nah, where it was is fine. Yeah. So that'll go there. So now what we're going to do is tidy it up a little bit with some cable ties, because I'm not going to buy wire separators for a 6-cylinder, that's just silly. So I'll grab some cable ties and we'll run through making some wire separators. Right, so I like to start on this side so I can try and keep it neat and even, and then push all the mess over to that side. So we're going to grab 6, 5, 4. And we're going to clamp it about here. The large cable tie, and then we're going to go between 4 and 5 first, put a loop over loosely, and same between 5 and 6, and then if I can get it to stay where I want, take some of the length out of it, shorten these guys up and pop them to the bottom so you don't have the daggy looking cut-off ends facing you. Come on. And then just slowly creep up on it. So we've got the leads sitting fairly relaxed and even. Not too tight. Side cut as well. Okay, so that's the back 6. These ones, probably going to put one about where the filler cap is. And I'm going to go the opposite way. And First one up and over. Second one up and over. Shorten it up a little. Get that out of our way for now. We're going to make them go under like last time. And a little bit more on him. Okay, so that's the first two done. Simple, neat, clean, keeps everything out of the way. And now, we'll try and pull the mess over to this side. And do something with this. Actually, we might put a longer one through here, through the middle. Put all six together. About there, I suppose. So we're going to start 1, 2. 2 and 3. 3 and 4. 4 and fingers don't want to work. 5. 5 and 6. So they're all roughly the same. We're going to lay these over so they're out of our way. There we go. And start to shorten the main one up to get a nice even gap. We'll go here and here. Or do we want to go back up? Up a little. That's better. So now this one will give first one pull. Second one. Fourth. Fifth. Main one. So that keeps it neat across the top. Sits out of the way. And then we'll chuck one just down in front of the carby there. So I'll go get another couple. Now here, I might actually group it into front and back. Will I? Or we're just going to do that. One more there like that. One more there like that. Up to you. And one more. Come on. Finger's not working today. They're all roughed in. Now we're going to want it back down about here. Ish. And take the slop in the big one out. If I put them down, okay, a couple of more on him. Couple more on him. That one. Come on. Sweet. There. Bring it home. And we just clean the mess up underneath. Okay, so we're done. So that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. I've got to get home and get some stuff cleaned up. So tomorrow afternoon I'm going to find the coil that we've got for it. We'll mount the new coil, run the wire to that, run the vacuum advance line up to the pulley, and we're that one step closer to getting this thing ready to wind over and fire off so we can check what's going on. So fingers crossed we're not far off from getting this thing fired to see what it's doing. I'm going to clean up now and we'll come back to it tomorrow. Okay, so we've got the ignition side of things all done, the new coil on, the wires, everything else all hooked up where it needs to be. We've got a accelerator bracket kit from Redline to suit their intake manifolds for the Holly carbs on the Falcon 6 cylinders, which is then going to let the XEXF series cable pull the way it's supposed to a cam, and it's going to give us something for the kick down cable bracket for the auto to work off of. So we're just going to pop these back bolts out. Oh, I hope this back one comes out and clears. Can't remember. Yep. That one's snug. See if I can get into this. Nope. Okay, so they're tight enough. And where's our kick down cable? That's going to come to there. Take the factory forward bracket off. And yeah, that way. Just nip this up for now because we are going to have to try and run through the manual again because it's been ages since I've had anything to do with one of these. I'll have to have a look and see how the hell we actually adjust this up. Pretty sure it goes through that bottom hook on the Holly lever, which gives it clearance everywhere. I just can't remember how much tension it needs on that cable and how far through we have to adjust it. So that'll do for now. And then, because the forward one used to have a retaining plate that would clip onto that, which isn't going to work with this one now. I'll have to look at, we'll go there. Nope. No, it's got to go down there. All right, we'll have a look and see what we can do to make that work. Might be that way. Nah. Okay, there's a little bracket there. I might have to just nick that off, so I can use that bottom one, but that's all hooked up. Everything else is hooked up. We're good to go. So, now the 6-cylinder one should use the small link. And an eccentric plate that goes that way. So that goes onto the back of the bracket. Come on. Spring. What's this stuff? So I'm assuming it goes that one. Nope. That one. So it must go that way then. Yep. Okay, so it goes that one. And that in the middle. Because their diagrams are horrifically bad to try and see. They're not clear. And that washer goes there. Yep. Okay. Grab a couple of. So what they have is that plate there, and the bolt goes down to secure it into the pivot, and they use a washer to give it a bit of clearance and space it from the bracket, as long as I don't lose the washer. Pop that on, and a second one underneath. Get that up. And we've just seated that because I'm assuming I've got that wrong. I'll put that washer in a different spot. Hang on. Try putting it under the head of the bolt. Just not the freest moving of pivots. I wonder if I've got a nut that'll actually double nut that instead of that nylock. So I'm going to change that mounting hardware they supplied for a slightly different setup. I just didn't trust that it wasn't going to vibrate loose or work its way loose. So washer there, washer there. Then, instead of a nylock, we'll go a double nut. Because we don't have to tighten it. And it'll stay free to pivot, but it won't vibrate loose. Well, that's the plan. Oh, what did I grab? The wrong one. Glasses didn't help, did they? Okay. Grab a second 10mm. Right, okay, so that's better. Now, is this ball pivot going to be the same size as the factory one on the whole? So, save that for later with the rest of our stuff. And what do we got here? What size are they? Same? Okay, so that one, and pick the right one up. I need a 5/16. There. And I think they intend that. Oh, eyesight is terrible. The hell? Get on there. Come on. Get a pair of pliers. Come on, you butterfingers. There we go. That one, maybe. Better go on the other way. It's better. Right, so for now, we're going to call it done. Once I undo that, because I've gone the wrong way. So, what we've got down here is the red line kit, like I was saying. So what I've done is I've switched out the bolt they originally gave us for there, which was a fairly short bolt with a nylock, because to get it tight enough so you weren't going to think it was going to vibrate loose, it would then bind up the cam pivot there that they have. Of course, your factory XE cable is going to come through the rocker cover top there, through that, to a ball that mounts on there that I still have to put on. Pull that and give us the throttle mechanism for the Holly, because the Webbers used to mount sideways from the factory. So once we get it home and into the car, we'll settle that up and the lengths and everything. But for now, that's done. I have to hook up the kick down, obviously, onto there, and then work out a way of securing that to there so it won't come off. We've got the Dizzy in, coil pack mounted, like I said. Basically, all we have left now is a little bit of wiring for the main kill switch and the starter trigger. We've got a light bulb there that's going to wire up to the alternator, so that will then let the alternator generate and charge. Without that light source there onto the back of the alternator, it'll just sit there and idle over at battery voltage and it won't physically put any charge out. And so the next time we get onto this one, which hopefully is next week, because this weekend I'm working in the city at the RNA showgrounds for the four-wheel drive and camping show. So nothing's going to get touched on these for the week. So for the weekend, sorry. So we'll get into that. By the time we come back, we should have this all wired up and a jerry can and a battery hooked up, and we're ready to fire it up and run it in. Right, so we're going to leave it there for now, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Yeah, like, share and subscribe. We're going to get back into it early next week, so by next weekend, hopefully we've got this thing ready for wind over and fire, so that way we can see if made a mistake with the measurements, or if it's actually going to run, everything's going to clear, and we run it in and make sure there's no leaks. So fingers crossed. Till then, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Bye.